So cycle number 2 is what happens if you got 0 sales on cycle number 1, or maybe even just 1, but just terrible results in general, okay? Basic framework, killing everything, and then I'm gonna change all the variables. I want this final blurt of tests to be like everything is different, as many things as you can think of. So here's what that looks like. We're gonna do a final 2 to 3 day test. It can be a little bit shorter and a little bit tighter than that original one, you know, because it should start working if you change everything. If it doesn't, then clearly it's something to do with the product or something else. But I'm gonna get some different ad creatives. I want different videos in there. Maybe my videos weren't good, maybe it didn't show it correctly. I don't just want like a different version of the same style, same theme. Like, you know, I want something that's completely different. Like if your first 2 videos that you were using, or your first 3 videos were people, like friends of yours, reviewing your product, switch it up. Do something where it's, you know, voice to text inside of TikTok, or it has music in the background. Don't do the review style. So completely change it. Different videos, different ad copy. If you were mentioning your offer 50% off, maybe try something a little more native, like we talked about. And you can watch the an ad copy video that we had made, going through different stuff where it's just a little bit more native. It's integrated. It's relaxing. You're not pitching anybody. You could try that. Another thing we're going to change definitely is the audiences. Try some that are even broader, some that are different, you know, some that have expand interest, others that don't. Maybe one ad set or ad group that has no targeting. That's called no interest. You're not targeting anything. You're just targeting the entire countries of wherever you're targeting, which for us is going to be Canada and US. So again, we're changing every variable. I want to change the budget. You know, if I was running $20 a day, let me do 2 at 20, 2 at 25, and 1 at 30. Let me just change it, right? You want everything to be different. I also am going to lower the product price on your store. Not to get too deep into this because we're not building a store or anything inside of this course, but in terms of like the framework, I do like to start my product pricing a little bit lower. So if my goal, let's say I'm getting a product for 10 bucks, right? My goal might be to sell it for $34.99, but that doesn't mean I have to start there. My simple logic behind it is lower it by $5 to $10, you know, like 15, 20, 30%, depending on how much your product is, you know, lower it a good bit. Instead of 35, let me sell it for 25 just for the first week, because if people aren't buying it at 25, what are the odds they're going to buy it at 35? It also, with a lower barrier to entry because of a cheaper price, you're going to get a little cheaper cost per purchases. You're going to get purchase faster, you know, by spending less, which usually means you're going to build data quicker, and it means your ad account is going to naturally be giving you purchases at a lower cost, which can help you over time as you then raise your price. So that's one strategy. And then anything else you can possibly and easily change. Your store a little bit. Maybe your product page wasn't good and you knew it, you just didn't really bother changing it because the store doesn't matter that much, but it needs to be decent. So again, we want as many variables different, and then I'm going to go launch 3 to 4, maybe 5. Usually this test's a little smaller. You don't need to spend quite as much. So if you spent, let's say, you know, $100 a day over 3 days on the first test and nothing worked, that's $300. On this next one, I might spend more like $200, $250, so it's a little bit less. So you're more around like $500, $600 per product you're testing. And then what happens next? If you get 0 sales again, or a mere 1 to 2, I typically am just killing the product and moving to the next one. You know, it's not really worth sticking with it. You can force a product to work by spending enough money usually, but it's just not worth it. If you have multiple sales, at least 1 to 2 ad sets look decent, then just go back to cycle number 1. What are we doing? Something has 2 or 3 sales? Let's start playing off of that. And if you just like something kind of worked, but you can't get anything else working, then you have to make that decision. Is it time to move on? Because if you're just launching a lot of stuff and most of it isn't working, like 0 sales, it's probably time to move on. So, you know, don't stick with something that's not working. It's really just a rinse and repeat process. You got to look at the data with no emotion. And I know that's difficult. It's just a learned skill. That's all it is. It's really just, you know, learning that skill. So yeah, that's the framework behind cycle number 2, which will give you the ultimate decision of, am I moving forward with this product or not? And again, if it's starting to work, then you just follow the second step of that framework in cycle number 1. So that is how we're testing products, our criteria, what we're doing, the entire framework around it. It's nothing too complicated, but you have to be able to follow it. Most people don't even have their own framework. That is mine. That's what I follow. I'm strict with it because it works. So implement that, and I'm certain you'll be able to find a product in the most effective way possible.